Welcome, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? So, Mark is actually going to be stepping out tonight. He's really not feeling well. So, I will be flying solo. So, I want to welcome everyone for coming here tonight and just give you a lot of honor for making a choice to show up, not only for yourself, but for your spouse, not only for your spouse, but for your children, not only for your children, but for their children. If you really think about the effect that your single relationship has, it is a huge ripple effect. So I honor you for coming, and I would encourage you to honor yourself and recognize that every choice that you make in a positive direction, even if it seems a little small, like coming to a masterclass tonight, it is an honor to yourself and to that ripple effect and to all the people that will be affected by each positive choice that we make. So take some time, take some deep breaths. I encourage you to really focus tonight and, set aside the distractions. Choose to make this something that you're really going to benefit from tonight. And your focus is one of your most powerful assets, right? We have these mental faculties, but focus is one of the most challenging things that we have in our modern age, right? Because we're driving and we've got the kids and we've got all the technology going on, and people are constantly coming in and interrupting us, not to mention our own thoughts, right? The kind of the chaos that might be going on in some of our brains. So I encourage you to kind of clean the slate, put down the distractions, turn off the cell phone, try to go to a quiet room if you can, and really focus in here, because that action alone is an indication to yourself that you are honoring yourself. You are respecting yourself. So again, congratulations. Thank you for showing up here tonight. And we look forward, not we, I'm so used to we, because Mark's my companion here, my business partner, an incredible international marriage expert. So I will be sharing some really powerful information with you. I encourage you to make this very interactive and to participate. So when I ask a question, I would love to see it in the chat. I'd love to see it in the comments, and make sure that you're really engaging with your full brain, your full mind, your full soul, your full heart, and your full presence here tonight. So who this is for? This is for anyone who is maybe wondering, can my marriage be saved? You might be in a really challenging place right now. Okay, I got to try to stop those Facebook notifications. Sorry, guys. There we go. I think I did it. But you might be in a really challenging place right now. You might be in a dark place. You might be in a place of a lot of fear, frustration, anger, exhaustion, even apathy. And you might be wondering, is it too late? Can my marriage even be saved? Right? You might have a spouse that is completely checked out. They might be unwilling or not wanting to work on things with you. And these are some of the comments that we got in the group today when I asked this question. The most common response was, my husband, wife doesn't believe it can work out. So what do I do? How do I restore that hope in them? And my spouse says we have, okay, I'm going to try to say this word, irreconcilable differences. Did I get it right? Irreconcilable. Okay. I think I got it. If I'm wrong, that's okay. You can all laugh at me and I'll laugh along with you. So that's who this is for tonight here. Now, I want you to set aside some of that heaviness and some of that fatigue, some of that anger, some of that frustration. And I'd like you to take a deep breath with me. Seriously, do it. And I want you to clear your mind and to think about how you would ideally like things to be. I'd like you to use your incredible mind and your incredible soul and your incredible heart to imagine what your relationship can be like. Imagine your spouse wanting to make it work with you. That might seem far-fetched right now, but just for a minute, gift yourself that vision. Feel what that would feel like to know that they're in this with you. They want to work on this with you. And you're working together as a team now. How secure that feels. How complete that feels. lying in bed at night with peace, knowing it's going to be okay. I am probably a lot like you. I have had sleepless nights. I've had no sleep at night as I've been sitting there with a gut wrenching feeling in my stomach. And, just thinking about the tension, thinking about this gap that was between my husband and I, and that fear of like, what are we going to do? How are we going to overcome this? And just that kind of heartbreak that things had become so far from where I thought they would be. So imagine all of that's gone and you can lie in bed at night with peace, curled up with your loved one, snuggling your loved one, knowing that it's going to be okay, having that security in your heart and in your mind and in your soul. Trusting that you now have a proven process that will restore your marriage. So, what if you believed that your marriage could be saved? If your belief level was at a solid 10 out of a scale of 1 to 10, and you just knew, you believed with your gut and your heart, my marriage is going to be saved. How different would that feel for you? How different would that make things in your day-to-day life? How different would that make things in your interactions with your spouse? And what if your spouse believed that your marriage could be saved? And what if you sensed that from them? You saw that hope in their eyes. You saw it in the gentleness of their words, maybe in some of the positive, hopeful statements that they made for the future. Side note here, but we just got a testimonial. Someone just shared their experience in the relationship reboot group of a note that he left, that she left in his truck saying, I look forward to seeing you. I saw your truck and give me a call. And that is just a beautiful manifestation of knowing that now she's willing to work on things, right? Such a simple thing, but it's such a monumental step at the same time compared to where they were just a little while ago. Now, Mark and I, we've coached and studied literally tens of thousands of couples all over the world. Okay. We have clients in New Zealand, Australia, the UK, Canada. I'm missing some. Of course, the US. Basically anywhere that's English speaking. And if you're one of our clients and you're out there, give us a shout out. Let us know where you are. But we have found out, Mark and I, we found out what makes them tick, what pulls couples apart, what brings them back together. And the incredible thing, the beautiful thing, in my opinion, is that there are common things that couples everywhere have that bring success and happiness. And there are also certain actions and traits that almost universally spell disaster. And our mission, the reason why we get up every day, is that we want to help educate people about these differences. Because there are so many misconceptions out there. There is so much conflicting advice. There is so much inadequate advice that is taking people down the wrong path or simply not giving them enough to get there fast enough, right? Especially if your marriage is in a really crucial situation. You or your spouse are pushing for separation or divorce. There's an affair going on. Or there's just things like apathy, like you've just become like roommates. These are very serious situations that need to be dealt with carefully and precisely and quickly, because time is the enemy in this kind of situation, right? Mark and I, we often compare what we do. We're like the ICU unit for marriages, okay? In the ICU, you have to act with speed, right? Someone comes in, their artery's been cut. You have to act quickly. You have to diagnose what's going on there precisely, and you have to act quickly to resolve that. Otherwise, it's not going to go in a good direction. And so we're going to talk today and help bring this message to the world about what these commonalities among successful couples are, so that you can have the right tools, you can have that immediate care and not a Band-Aid, but a genuine fix, a genuine solution here. All right, now, before I get into all of that, I want to talk about horses. Now, what do horses have to do with restoring hope for your marriage? I know this might be, you're like, Heather, you're crazy. You have too many kids. I have 7 kids. So you might be thinking I'm a little brain fried, which is probably true. But I'll tell you in a minute what horses have to do with marriage. So, first, how many of you have ever been around horses? I know there are several of you in the group because, I sometimes Facebook snoop too, and I saw some of you posting pictures of horses, and you're like my kindred spirit. Okay. How many of you have been horseback riding? Put that in the chat. Ever been around horses, grew up with horses, went horseback riding? Let me know where my tribe is here. All right. Do you know what a horse is? Okay. Yes. Great. We have some people who know what a horse is. Excellent. I found my tribe. All right. Now, I've been around horses for many years. My parents had a dude ranch in Vail, Colorado, and I had the privilege of spending my teenage years learning how to ride, how to feed, how to groom horses, and clean up after them. So yes, there was a lot of shoveling manure, and yes, I can now say it was good for me. So I got to spend time with horses and the other ranch hands, and I noticed that there were particular differences between the wranglers. I posted this picture here because this reminded me of a lot of them, okay? Several of the big, tough cowboys, they wore spurs, like the ones in this picture, while several did not. Now, the one that did not, in particular, was my great uncle Kelly. All right, he was literally in his 80s, and he came up to help my parents and I at the ranch. We were city people that were pretending to be ranchers in the summer, so we really didn't know what we were doing. We needed his help because he grew up as an old cowboy. All right, so he was one of those old school cowboys, right? He wore like the chaps and the denim and the scarf and the hat and the buckle and the boots and all of that. And he grew up during the Great Depression. When he was only 8 years old, he left his family to go catch wild horses in the open spaces of New Mexico, Colorado, and Texas. And he told me how he saw the other cowboys, they would break the horses, kind of like you see in the movies, using their spurs and their whips. And that just never set right with him. So he learned from the Taos Native Americans how to break a horse with nothing but using your body, your heart, and your soul. They call it the spirit to spirit kind of connection between human and animal. And there wasn't a horse that my uncle couldn't ride. There was even this big brown gelding, which means a male horse, that we brought to the ranch one summer. And it had all those big, tough wranglers. They tried to ride it, but they eventually ended up with their butts in the dirt. And I laughed. So I watched with fascination as my Uncle Kelly, he spent hours with that horse, just patiently talking to him, patting his neck, and eventually my 87-year-old uncle was riding him, while the other wranglers watched open mouth. Now, maybe my great uncle was just some kind of like horse whisperer, right? Maybe he had a way about him that normal people just didn't have, okay? Now, I probably believed that that was true until just last week. And that's when I took my 3 girls out for their first horseback riding lesson. Okay. The instructor placed my tiny 3-year-old daughter up on the back of this big brown horse. No spurs, no whips, and not even a bridle. This horse only had the halter on and the reins were attached to the halter. Okay. So my 3-year-old daughter got up on this horse and she guided the animal around the pen. The instructor told her that she didn't even have to move the reins, which is different than what I'd ever done growing up around horses. She didn't even have to move the reins to turn the animal. She simply needed to look where she wanted the horse to go, and it would sense the shift in her movement and follow. So is this amazing to anyone else? I guess you maybe had to see it, but there we were with my tiny 3-year-old, right? This girl's like 35 pounds. Okay. And all she was doing was turning her head right or left to go look where she wanted to go. And the horse responded. It was incredible. So what is the difference between these two drastically different approaches to horseback riding? And what does it have to do with marriage? Okay. I've come to understand that the cowboys, with their whips and their spurs, they can make an animal do what they want to do. They can make it. Except if it's that big brown gelding, then they're going to end up with their butts in the dirt. But they were only addressing the outer effects, the symptoms of the situation. They never address the core of the matter, or root issue, as Mark and I call it, which is, in this case, gaining the animal's complete trust. Like Uncle Kelly said, having that spirit to spirit connection. So in the other approach, the root issue of trust is addressed first, and then the desired response is achieved. So just like working with horses, there are two very different approaches to solving marriage challenges. So out of curiosity, I want you to comment here. I want you to respond, put on your brains here and engage here with me. Out of curiosity, what do you think the right approach is to marriage troubles? If your spouse is pulling away from you, if they're pushing for divorce, if they're not wanting to work on things, if they're checked out or apathetic, if they've lost hope that the marriage can work out, what do you think the right approach is? Again, another question here. What advice, I'd really love to hear from you. What advice have you been given from others? What do you think our mainstream culture encourages us to do in this situation? So again, I'm going to be looking here to put your answer in the chat or the comments. Getting some good answers here. Go to counseling, go to your pastor, pray. Absolutely. Yep. Good. Very good. All right, let's go over what the typical approach is. You guys can keep posting your answers there because we hear a lot of misconceptions. Study some books, YouTube, counseling. Yep. All of those. Absolutely. Now, if you've been with us for a while, I see some of you sneaking in answers. You guys are trying to be like the gold student. So I appreciate that. That's great. Awesome. Maybe you guys should teach this. All right. So the typical approach is that, okay, we need to focus on communication, right? We're going to go to the counselor and we're going to learn how to communicate. Okay. We're going to look at the sex intimacy issues. Okay. You feel like there's not enough sex happening. All right. Go to the counselor. Counselor says, have more sex. That's going to fix the issue, right? Let's talk about some more typical approaches. Focusing on the affair, the infidelity, having the affair stop, right? If they stop going to the other person, everything is going to be fine, right? We were money issues. We're going to talk about the money issues. Parenting issues. We're going to talk about parenting. Arguments. Again, that kind of goes back to communication. But we're going to fix these arguments. If the arguments just go away, if we just learn how to control our tempers or work together as a team, like now we're not going to argue anymore, right? And that's going to fix everything. Neglect. There's neglect going on. Let's go figure that out. Divorce and separation. Talk about this. What's the typical approach? Okay, I think you guys have pretty much covered them all. So really good. What happens when we do all of these things? All of the focus on these things is focusing on I gave it away because I clicked the button too soon, the symptoms, right? All of these things, communication, sex, affairs, money, parenting, arguments, neglect, even divorce and separation are the symptoms. They are these surface level issues and they are not going down deep enough. And this is what happens when we focus on the symptoms. First, the problem doesn't really go away. It just becomes masked. We see this all the time. Oftentimes, Mark and I will have clients that come to us, people in our group, even here in the Thriving Marriage, and they say, we learned how to communicate better. Why aren't we happy? Right? We fixed the money issue. Why is there now an affair? Okay. We fixed the sex issue. We're having more sex, but that didn't last very long. And now we've got another problem going on. So ultimately, if you solved your concerns with any of these core issues, then another problem could crop up somewhere else to take its place. And then we just kind of bounce around from one issue to the next, or we kind of get into a cycle. If any of you ever felt like you're just in a cycle, things are good for a little while, then they get kind of plateau, kind of stale, then they get a little tense, and then things start to go back downhill again, right? And we kind of repeat this cycle, and then it goes down, 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 down until it gets so bad. Okay, now we're going to fix it. And then we work on fixing it and things start to improve, only for the cycle to repeat itself. Okay. Unfortunately, that is a huge amount of marriages in the world today. Even those that are happy, only 17% of people that are married say that they're happily married, which leaves a vast amount of people that are not happy. which is a tragedy to me. We're out there to fix it. Now, the problem here is that core issues are never resolved. I'm going to give an example of this, okay? I just talked to an acquaintance today, someone that I actually know personally, whose wife has separated from him. Okay, back in June of this year, she left him and took the kids. And he was telling me how they went to a marriage retreat. And if he's on today, I honor you for coming. I'm not going to name you by names, but I appreciate you sharing. And I'm excited and grateful and honored to be able to give some enlightenment here. Okay. So they went to a marriage retreat last week. And in that marriage retreat, they were encouraged to increase positive statements and communication and eliminate the negative, which is beautiful. That is fine. However, now a week after the retreat, he is doing what was taught, and he's sending her a positive statement, a positive text, or a phone call every day. She's not doing it, and she's even asked him to stop. So do you think that if he continues to text her these positive statements, even though it's positively based, is this going to bring her closer to him, or is it going to push her further away? I don't see anything in the chat. Yes, there we go. Now you're alive. Thank you. That's exactly it. It's going to push her further away. Why is that? I just really would like you to take a minute and think, why would that push her further away? It's positive. There's nothing negative going on. It's encouraging. It's even sometimes spiritually based. Isn't that enough? Why is it going to push her further away? Beautiful. Beautiful, guys. Awesome. Yes, because the root issue is not being addressed here. So, my friends, all of the positive communication in the world in this instance alone, and I hope you're applying it to your instances, okay? It's not going to get to the root issue of why she wants out of the marriage in the first place and the personal issues that are going on for her. He needs a radically different approach. Positive statements, fine. Is it enough? Unfortunately not in this instance. It's not a bad thing. However, it's still addressing the surface and it's not going deep enough. So what Mark and I do, radically different approach. Positive, yes, but intense, getting to the root of the issue, absolutely. That's like saying I have a cancer tumor, which if you know me, I did, and it was threatening my life and my unborn baby. That's like saying the doctor's like, let's put a positive Band-Aid on it and we'll write the words positive on it. We'll write the words encouraging. We'll write the words prayer. All of those things are beautiful and they are important and they do have a place. I am not discounting them, but they are not going to get to what is going on with that tumor. We've got to get under the surface and solve it in the right order. All right. So that is crucial here. All of these things are, bottom line, just an ineffective approach because they're focusing on symptoms rather than the roots. So check in here. Have you been focusing on the symptoms rather than the root issue? Have you been encouraged to focus on the symptoms rather than the root issue? Maybe you're sitting here thinking, Heather, I don't even know what the root issue is. Maybe I'm trying to figure that out. Beautiful. That's awesome. You're on the right track. Now you need some guidance. Now you need some help to know how to get to that root issue and uncover it. Because honestly, guys, and I know this, I've been there, when you're in the midst of all the emotion and the turmoil of a relationship, it's hard to see what's really going on. And sometimes we're blinded, right? We don't always get the big picture. And so that's why it's so crucial that we have guidance and we have perspective from someone who can quickly, decisively uncover what that root issue is. So let's go deep in here. This is Restoring Hope. And we're now going to move into addressing your questions here. My husband and wife doesn't believe it can work out. My spouse says we have, okay, here's this word again, irreconcilable differences. I don't know why that word's so hard for me. That's okay. All right. So many times when people come our way here at High Thrive Coaching and their marriage is already at the point where one person wants out. That's what we deal with every single day. They have lost hope that anything could be different. And this is absolutely what prevents your spouse from working things through or coming back. They don't believe it's going to work. They don't have hope that it's going to work. So why would they come back? Your marriage, your relationship, and you have become an obstacle to their happiness. Whether that's true or not, I know that can really irk people, like, oh, how am I an obstacle, right? I'm working so hard. I'm doing all these things. But in their mind, you have to put yourself in their shoes for whatever reason. And I can't tell what that is right now, but I know that 99% of the time, this is what it is. They're seeing you or your relationship as an obstacle to their marriage. They may have built up a story. It could be completely false. It could be warranted. And I encourage you to own up to your part, right? But for whatever reason, you are a block to their happiness in their mind. So how do we overcome that block? How do we restore hope for them that things can be different? Well, you're going to use an effective approach. And effective approaches address root problems instead of symptoms. Always. So what does that actually look like? You're like, Heather, you're talking about me, all this stuff about root issues. What does it really look like? All right. What it means is that we are going to be focusing, instead of focusing on money problems, communication issues, we're talking about why those things are important and what is actually wanted. So we're uncovering the root issues that are beneath the symptoms. Okay. So in this instance, let's go back to my example with my friend and his wife. The root issue could come back all the way to abuse in her childhood, inability to deal with depression, poor communication between them because of these issues, right? The gap widening further and further, her feeling isolated, him feeling like needs aren't being met. You can pull out all of the symptoms and kind of map the whole thing, and you can uncover exactly what's going on there. And this approach utilizes understanding. Mark and I did an entire masterclass on understanding alone. It is one of the pieces of our restoration equation. The very first piece is understanding, because we must understand where our partner is coming from to build upon a strong foundation in your marriage. I encourage you to check out that masterclass so that you can understand exactly what I'm talking about there. What it means is we're going deeper than those surface level symptoms. It means teaching you how to ask questions and figure things out instead of giving you a one size fits all kind of solution. When you know how to ask your spouse the right questions, they will start to open up in a way that you probably have rarely experienced before. Most of our clients, most of the people in this group have never experienced anything like this in their marriage before. When you know how to ask the right questions with the right meaning and the right intent behind it, one of genuine care and truly seeking to understand them, incredible things happen. Yep, I can see one of our clients here testifying of that right now. Absolutely, night and day difference, he said. That's exactly it. Sorry, we've got two different chats going on here, so I'm trying to balance between both, and I'm doing it alone. Usually I have Mark kind of helping me manage it, but yeah, very good. So the next thing that we do is that we resolve those root issues. So we show understanding, we ask the right questions, we go deeper with genuine care and respect for each other, and we uncover what those are. And then when we've uncovered what they are, we resolve them. So root issues like proving a sense of security and certainty in the relationship, or perhaps helping the other person feel valued. Maybe they haven't felt very valued by you in a long time. But when you're starting to provide that feeling of value and you're nurturing that in them, these basic deep level needs and their lack, these are what often causes many other problems and concerns. Next month, because we do one of these every month, Mark and I are going really deep in a masterclass alone on how to meet needs, because it's so crucial that we uncover what they are so that we can truly resolve these root issues. Now, when you do these things, you uncover the root issues, you utilize understanding, and you resolve the root issues, the symptoms go away. So if the symptom was an affair because the husband didn't feel valued at home and his coworker starts to value him at work, and that, I'm oversimplifying the thing, right? But now the wife and the husband are able to help him feel valued at home, and he's able to help meet her needs as well, the affair goes away. The need for the affair is gone, right? Because you've resolved the root issue. The symptom is now gone. So back to my horse analogy here. What's the difference? Just like with horseback riding, the root issue is addressed first, and then the desired response is achieved. Hope that makes sense. Hope I clarified it for you, because that's it. And if you need to go back and listen to that again, I encourage you to do so. So what we need to do here is resolve root issues. So basically, if you can reliably meet your spouse's basic needs, then the response or the effect is that many of the problems melt away. And we really appreciate Mr. Hendricks here, because he was told for years, like I think it was about 20 years or something, for the counselor and the pastor, that they were told they need to work on communication, right? And what they understood was that they never really got to what was the problem in the first place, right? So he worked with us, and then he understood that the communication, which was their constant fighting, her nagging at him, his withdrawal of affection, wanting to kind of shut her out, all of those things were just a symptom. The real issue, like he says, was much deeper, and that things are easy now. So that's truly the difference between symptoms and addressing symptoms versus the root issues. And that leads to real progress, real healing, and real restoration. All right, so I'm going to go over here to a question that I got in a group from Shanna. My husband believes we have, here's the word again, irreconcilable differences, and the marriage has broken down. I don't know how to help him see that it is fear and not reality. So in this instance, Shanna, again, we need to go back to, I'm not going to find the slide. I'm going to mess it up if I try to find the slide. I'm sorry, I'm way too human. I'm not computer or robot. Okay, but we need to go back to the right approach, which would be to find out what those root issues are. Why does he believe that you have irreconcilable differences, right? Surely he didn't always believe that, because we rarely marry someone that has irreconcilable differences from us. There, I'm getting so much better at saying that word. I'm so proud of myself. Anyway, so why does he feel that? What have been the events leading up to that? What needs does he feel aren't being met in the relationship? And you can go to him and ask him some of those understanding questions. My husband, whatever is, Dave in this instance will say, Dave, I'd really love to understand you. What are you looking for? What would you really love to see in a relationship? What drew us together? What did you initially love about me? And asking some of these questions. And it's important to know which ones are the right ones given your specific situation. I don't know anything about your situation, so I'm just throwing out some examples here. But you want to ask these beautiful open-ended questions and wait patiently with a genuine heart of caring, of understanding, no agenda, because he might feel like you're trying to trap him. You might feel like you're trying to trick him or manipulate him into working on things. And you could have just even addressed that. That's one thing Mark talks about all the time, is you say, no pressure here. I simply want to understand you. I'd really love to know what you are looking for. I'd really love to know what would make you happy. And then listen. So that's going to the understanding. And then when you know that, you get to work on resolving those root issues and learning how to work together as a team so that you can resolve those things. As you start to meet his needs, because you understand what they are, meeting his needs, exactly what his heart is craving, that will start to plant the seeds of hope within him. And just like a seed, it's going to be nurtured through time, consistency, and patience. But this isn't a surface level sprinkling of water here and there, or a sprinkling of fertilizer here and there. We're going deep, and we're establishing healthy roots from the beginning so that you can rebuild with a strong foundation and go from there. Hope that makes sense. So this brings it all together here into our restoration equation. Like I mentioned previously, we've gone deep into understanding. This is all about restoring hope. what we explained, it's just a brief overview and really one small piece. So how does it all fit together? Basically, if you understand what is needed, imagine you just understood exactly what your spouse needed. You knew exactly what it was, like you could read their mind almost. If you knew what your spouse needed and you provided some hope through your consistency of meeting those needs, that things can be different, because words mean nothing, right? Actions are everything. And you addressed those root level issues by meeting those needs, you can reliably see progress and come back together. That is where the magic happens. That is where the beauty happens. Okay, we're not having to use spurs to kick our horse to go in a direction and make it do what we want it to do. No, we're like my tiny 3-year-old daughter that all she has to do is turn her head and the results follow, because that situation has fostered harmony and trust and unity. And that is exactly what you can have in your relationship. That is exactly what you can have through the right approach by addressing root issues first. Now, I'm going to bring this all together in our complete restoration equation, the full big picture. Like I mentioned at the beginning, imagine knowing that you had a proven step-by-step system. There was no wondering, what am I going to do? How am I going to figure this out? They seem so far gone. How is this ever going to work? But you had that peace of mind, knowing that you had exactly the right steps to take in the right order to solve these problems, right? I'm not going to go into the rest of this, but basically, we talk about our 3 proven psychological techniques, which is the understanding, restoring hope, meeting needs, and that equals bringing your spouse, attracting your spouse back to you. Again, I just said that. Yeah, understanding and restoring hope, going step by step in a customized plan that's unique to your relationship issues, because a cookie cutter approach is not going to fix it, right? Like if I go into the ER and I've got a broken arm, that's going to be treated a lot different than if I have a brain tumor, right? They're both crucial problems. They both need to be fixed, but they're going to require slightly, well, maybe even drastically different approaches. And so you need to have something that is customized to your unique relationship issues. Also given full accountability. Guys, so many times when, and I'm like this too, I have a problem, I go to Google and I'm like, okay, give me the answer, Google. The Google God, right, is going to bestow upon me its infinite wisdom. However, the problem with those kind of sources like books and YouTube and Google and the other abundant knowledge that we have out there is that we don't have accountability to see it, that we're doing it regularly. Like how many times have you been even maybe in a master class like this and you're nodding your head like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. And the next day or even the next hour or even the next minute, sometimes we're going back right to our old ways, right? Because it takes time and consistency to do the right things and to make sure that we're actually applying them. And you need accountability oftentimes to make sure that you're doing them consistently, that you're doing them thoroughly, and that you're doing them correctly. So many times I will watch something and realize that I probably wasn't even doing it right because there's no feedback there, right? I'm not, the author of the book isn't coming through the pages to be like, oh, Heather, when I said do this, I actually meant this. So when I meant like turn left, I meant like 50 degrees left, but you only went 10. I didn't explain that to you, but now that, they just don't come off the page and give us that kind of feedback. So having feedback is crucial. And all of these things lead to those fast results that are crucial to saving a relationship, especially if it's in the ICU. All right, let's take a deep breath, step back from all this. Again, I want you to connect to the possibility and to the hope within yourself that this is possible. When you have the right approach and you're addressing the root issues, truly wonderful things can and will happen for you. So tap into that. What is your heart saying right now? What is your soul craving for you to know about yourself, for you to know about your relationship? And again, just imagine that you're doing these things and now your spouse is wanting to make it work with you. We see it every day. One of the things that stands out to me most about my journey when I was diagnosed with cancer. Okay, I was told by 3 different doctors that if I did not abort my baby, that I was risking my life. One told me, you will die. You will not make it. The end result will not be good, Heather. We found an expert in Denver at the Anschutz Medical Center. And this is just my heart speaking. There's no notes about this. We went up to her, Dr. Borges, at the UC Health. And we were so anxious. We were full of fear, but also that little glimmer of hope, mostly mixed with a lot of fear. We sat down in her office and she came in. Beautiful, loud, vivacious Texas woman, okay, with this like incredible PhD, one of the top 5 experts in the world. And she sits down with us and she says, I cannot imagine how hard this is for you. And we're thinking like, yeah, this is really hard. And she looks at us and she says, but for me, it's just another Tuesday. I don't mean to sound that callously, she laughed, but for me, it's just another Tuesday. You're in here and you're afraid. However, I see this every day. I take care of this every day. I walk young women that are pregnant with cancer through that terrifying situation every day. So for me, it's another Tuesday. And at first that jarred me a little bit because my goodness, my life's on the line. My unborn baby, like it felt a little callous, like she said. However, I soon took a lot of comfort in that because it showed her level of expertise, right? It showed me that she knew what she was doing, so much so that it just kind of felt like another Tuesday. And that's exactly what I needed. I needed someone that was like, this is another Tuesday for me. I can take care of this. I got this. You're in the right hands. Imagine that kind of security. Lying in bed, again, with peace at night, knowing it's going to be okay because you have that proven process that will restore your marriage, just like I had the expert that was going to get me through that incredibly challenging situation. I could trust her. I could know that I was in the right hands. I didn't have to figure it out all myself, but I did need to do exactly what she said. So you have a choice now, right? You can apply this restoration equation. You can start restoring your marriage today. I encourage you to go back and watch it again. Pour over it. Let your heart and your gut sink into it. Pay attention to what speaks to you because that's where you need to go. You have inner guidance. Take action on it. Okay? Or you could discount this. You could go on with your life. Things are going to continue to happen in your relationship. Where do you want it to go? It's your decision. It's your choice. All right? You can live with peace in your heart, knowing that no matter what happens, even if your marriage ends, even if, it doesn't go the way that you want it to, that you gave your marriage the very best possible. And you became a better person because of it. Now, Mark and I and our team, we've set aside some time in the next week that we would love to speak with you personally. We would love to know what your situation is, what your vision is, what your heart is pulling you toward. What options are there for you? What possibilities are there for you? And how you can apply this restoration equation to the unique challenges in your marriage. So it can be like a Tuesday day in the doctor's office. Just like me, you might be terrified. You might be scared. You might not know what to do or where to turn to. You might feel completely overwhelmed by the conflicting advice, but you're sitting down with an expert that's looking across the table from you and saying, I got you. I understand this is hard. For me, it's just another Tuesday. Let's do this. So if you're ready to take your marriage restoration to the next level, we encourage you to come to this call and see if you qualify to work with Mark and I one-on-one in our marriage coaching program, where it can be just like another Tuesday. We're helping you get through this. So bottom line, guys, final thought here, that living your life with no regrets and complete peace of mind, that you have done the right things for the right reasons and grown into the person that you are meant to be, that is worth everything. That alone, if you make that distinction and that decision today, that you will become who you want to be. Bottom line, guys, that is what will change your life, change your relationships, and ultimately change this world as we each take our part, because that is what it's all about. That is the mark of a beautiful life. We all have one. We're all going to die. It's the one guaranteed thing, right? What makes a difference is what we choose to do with it. That's a beautiful life, a prosperous future, abundant in love and joy. And that is what we can absolutely assure you you will have when you dedicate yourself to this program, when you dedicate yourself to what your heart is calling you to do and the changes that are being nudged, maybe in the back of your mind that your heart's saying, take action, do something about this. Don't let another precious day wasted with pain, with regret, with confusion, with fear. Remember, that's like the cowboy with the spurs. Choose now that you're going to get to the root of the issues. You're going to solve these problems once and for all and do it the right way. And if not, know that you did, you tried, and that you gave it your all, and that you can lie in bed with peace at night, knowing that you did that. Is that alone worth it to you? That sense of inner peace, that sense of inner contentment that you followed where your heart was calling you. When you learn to find that peace and that inner resolve within you to be who you are meant to be and to do your very best, you live a life that is truly stunning. I look forward to getting you there. I look forward to seeing your journey. I cannot wait to hear about the transformation that you have made, that you chose to be brave and to honor yourself, to respect yourself, to listen to your intuition and make a positive change right now, and where it's going to take you 8 weeks from now, 8 months from now, 8 years from now. So who is this for? This program I'm specifically talking about, we look for 3 things. You have to be committed. You must be absolutely committed to saving your marriage. Be willing to go first without waiting for your spouse to get on board. We've already talked many times about that. We know that's not going to happen if they're checked out. You must be willing to go first. You must be invested. You have to put forth the time, energy, and money to save your marriage and your family. And coachable. You have to be willing to be like me, sitting in that doctor's office and saying, yes, Dr. Borges, I will do what you say because you know what you're doing, right? So if this speaks to you, if this resonates with you, I invite you with love in my heart to join us over here at highthrivecoaching.com/apply. Bottom line, make sure that you follow that inspiration, that intuition, that nudge in your own heart that says that you are worth it. You are worth investing in yourself to make your life what you want it to be. It's going to be beautiful, and I look forward to seeing you get there. Now, sometimes we do a Q&A at the end. I'm going to have to go get my kids. We went a little bit long, but I deeply appreciate each and every one of you for coming on today and for honoring yourself by showing up. I encourage you to check in with the group, post your comments here. Let us know what wins you're having as you're applying this restoration equation. I appreciate you all. I honor you, and I hope you all have a fabulous night.